technology, eh?
Absolutely. And talking of technology, our internet provider has told us that we might be off for half an hour sometime between 9 and 5.
Well, that narrows it down a bit.
For half an hour.
So disappear. I'll talk amongst myself.
Well, if we suddenly get cut off, unless it's sort of practically at the end, we'd probably better do it again. But I thought, well, I've got no idea. I'm just going to go for it and see what happens. Yeah.
The love of the gods, as they say.
Yeah, so if you could probably sort of hang out till about 11:30 to drop us in the proverbial, that would be nice, guys. Can you just sort of fix that so that we can do this and not be messed about? So whatever. Are you having a good equinox?
I love this time of the year. It is my favorite time of the year. I do think the equinox kind of gets a little bit, I think it's one of the less celebrated Sabbats, I guess. I think it's one of the ones not maybe so popular, but I love it. I laughed at the beginning. The autumn is my time. Absolutely love it. And it's a real zingy energy. I don't know
it's very strong this time. Yeah, much stronger than the spring one, and stronger than any equinox I've felt for a few years, really.
Yeah, it's definitely got a zing to it.
It has, and quite a lot of people seem to be saying the same thing too. So, we'll have to sort of see. Are you doing anything special, or have you done anything special?
Not specifically, because we are packing up still. Our house we are literally first week of October, everything is all systems go. So we have been, well, actually, I guess we've been autumn cleaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've probably been going with the energies of the autumn equinox and having a good old clear out. I cannot believe how much junk that people collect, that keep. And I started clearing the kitchen cupboards out nearly 2 weeks ago, and I packed away loads of stuff. And in that 2 weeks, I haven't needed or wanted any of the stuff that I've packed away. So I obviously don't use it very often.
No, I know. I get that sort of feeling too. And I mean, I don't. Is it? Can I be horribly sort of genderist? And is it a bloke thing? Are they all squirrels?
Well, the kitchen's my domain. He only has the toaster. So that he can make toast and Marmite. He doesn't cook oven. Well, actually, he makes very good cheese on toast. But yeah, if it involves the toaster, we're all good. The kitchen is mine, but I have gadgets and all sorts and stuff that. Oh, and mugs. Do they multiply? I'm sure that you need mugs
when you're not looking.
And
I think there are cupboards full of bonking mugs just producing new ones.
Definitely.
And you go to the cupboard and you go, good God.
Yes, I think they must.
It is. But I agree with you. I think in the packing and the changing that's going to happen with your house, I think that's very equinoctial. And I mean, this is like the moment of standing of poise, of balance. And then we're pretty well started going down into the womb again. And I was thinking about your house and all that. I thought, that's actually a beautiful change moment to have it.
It's really going with the flow of the energies, which is brilliant.
How long is it going to take, do you think?
I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be done by Christmas.
Well, I was thinking that. I'm hoping that possibly they might even get it done before Christmas.
Yes.
But what I was thinking was, this is the time. And I know what builders are like. And, I'm sorry, love, something's happened. I'll be back on Tuesday. And it does. And they're not skiving. It's just a builder's thing, I think.
They have lots of jobs on normally, don't they? And they sort of jump between them.
Sometimes there's a real emergency, like somebody's got a burst pipe or something.
Yeah.
and so it has
the company that we're going with, they are so lovely. This is the first time we've ever had anything done like this, so we have been bombarding them with questions and queries, and they've been so patient with us and so fantastic. Nice. So they're brilliant, so I have absolutely no qualms about them at all.
But what I was also thinking was, if it does spin to November, to midwinter, then that's rebirth time. That's the rebirth of the sun.
Yes.
So it's the rebirth of your house. You've got the tipping point start, and then you get to midwinter, and
it's all fallen into place perfectly.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Legs crossed, arms crossed, head crossed. Absolutely. There are always hiccups, aren't there? So.
Oh, yeah, things happen, don't they? And things have happened all along. This whole journey started beginning of the year almost, so in the spring. So it's all happening when it's meant to be happening. So,
well, good. When are they actually supposed to arrive?
The first week of October.
What?
So not long.
You've got another week to clear up.
The house is weird, actually. We have been had to put all my books away.
Oh Lord.
That was really painful.
Yeah.
Put them all in boxes. That was very painful. And my altars, I had quite a few altars. They've all been packed away. It's very, very strange not having those kind of focal points. It's very weird. Still got the garden, obviously, but even that's got to be tidied up and cleared a bit because they're going to be working out in part of it.
Yeah, yes, of course they'll have to. So you have to make sort of space and protect the plants and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Transitions, isn't it? But it's definitely that time. And you singing? Do you hear the dog singing in the background?
Well, can you hear the cat trilling?
Are they talking to each other?
I think so.
Come on then. Come
on, up you come. Come on. Well, I've got mine.
Mine's a bit heavier.
Here we are. Here's Kellen. And that's Eric. No, you're just going to get the tail.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, she doesn't like tea, so I'm all right.
He'll try anything.
Where are you going? And don't eat the wires.
He likes it out here because it's sunny and you are very warm. He likes laying in the sun.
But I'm supposed to be warm. Are you coming round again? No, I'm going to have a cat on the altar. I now have a cat.
They do seem to like altars, don't they? Cats,
yes.
They do seem to be drawn
to like the energy. And she will actually move things. And it's not an accident. It's quite a gentle push something over.
Well, you put it in the wrong place, obviously.
Or it was all right when you started, but you just don't take any notice of the change of energies, Mum. She's trying to teach me to be reasonable, but it's the material she's got to work with, really. She does sort of think it's a little bit low grade.
They are worlds apart, cats and dogs, aren't they? Their minds work completely differently.
Well, it's funny because, she's there carefully stepping in between everything. If Eric was up there, it would all be on the floor.
It would be, yeah.
This is a dog thing.
Trying to sit on your head and lick your face.
Well, it's good. No, you can't get down there. You're too fat. She's trying to get down. She's trying to get down between the table and the wall. It's about that deep. She is a thin cat, but not that thin. So I don't know what we're going to get today, but I think we're both going to get photoblogged by our various videos.
Yes.
There we are.
We get lots of singing. Are you singing? Yeah. He likes to sit and look out the garden. He doesn't mind the sparrows. They're fine. But the pigeons annoy him. He has to run out and bark at the pigeons. I don't know why, Sparrows fine. Pigeons, no, definitely not.
Have you ever thought your dog might be speciesist?
Yes, I think he probably is. He doesn't like other dogs, that's for sure. Although
definitely right, yeah.
He's just about to start socialization classes. He's going to go to the doggy daycare to make friends.
Oh dear.
Where we've had him, where we've been on lockdown and everything, he hasn't interacted with other dogs or other people really. So although he's never been aggressive or anything like that, but he's not used to other people. He's not used to other dogs. So he's going to go to doggy daycare sessions to make friends. Yeah, you're not impressed about it.
Well, if he really hates it, maybe he's just not that sort of dog. So
I don't blame you if you don't like other people. It's not a problem, but
no. I mean, if he starts biting people, then it's sort of like, excuse me, it's not a good idea, my love.
I don't think it's not that. He's just indifferent to them. He doesn't get aggressive. He's just not bothered about them, really. I don't actually blame him, but
no, I mean, I think he has a lot of points there. Actually,
definitely.
Kellen's a one cat. I'm the cat in big capitals. Thou shalt have no other cat but me, which I got first off when I first met her. So I thought, okay, that's fine. We've seen the size of her walking across here, and next door's got 3 New Zealand Hunterway dogs. They look a bit like Rottweilers.
Yeah,
and they're big and barky, and next door has them because we live out in the wilds, and she has them to bark at people to frighten people away.
Right.
So you're only going to get the sort of people who know, or the people who are quite willing to kill them coming in. I wouldn't advise it because I think both Lillian and Julie, who live there, would probably kill them if they did. So, but Kellen growls at them, and she does not like them, and it's very, very definite. And they can't come in here. We've organised gates and everything so that this is her space. And they can go past in the lane, but they can't come in. But her innards, herself, her spirit self is, a Smilodon or a saber-toothed panther, really. And he just happens to have shrunk herself down to a decent size to live in this house, I think. But she doesn't. And when students and people come, I mean, students and that are usually okay, although sometimes they can be a little bit sort of fast and crashing about, and I have to sort of say, whoa, right, stand still and breathe several times and let go, because that she can't cope with. And she does not like it, and she'll go and hide under things if a fast or speedy person comes in. Is Eric like that?
He's just not used to other people, so when they come in, he tends to bark at them initially, but runs away. So he's so brave. He'll bark and then he'll run away.
Well, he's not exactly big.
No, he's not. His bark's quite loud. Can I help you? So just investigating the table now. He does sound like a Rottweiler when he barks.
Yeah.
Which is, from a security point of view, is quite good.
From the other side of the door where nobody can tell. It's a good idea. Yeah. No, I tend to, when the students come, I mean, I've got a notice on the door of the house, which, no, I haven't got one handy. Think of it. It's a picture of a cat, and the words say, "This house and the entire property is maintained purely for the benefit of the cat."
Which is, that's fair enough.
So, it's, have you read the notice on the door the first time they come in? Oh, no, well, go out and read it then. It'll save a lot of time and trouble. Yes. Really, it will. I found it in the junk shop down in Stretton. It was great. I was like, no, I have to have that. I absolutely have to have that.
Yes, excellent.
But it does work. And I mean, it's actually, I find it's useful for them because people get excited and they end up behaving like, ill-judged 5-year-olds, and they're 45 kind of thing. And he says, no, calm down. It's okay. You don't need to have hysterics all over me, and certainly not all over the cat. And once they get it, and it usually takes sort of the first half hour, and they find it much more peaceful too.
Yeah.
Because they're not up here bouncing. They've dropped their energy down and got rooted. And then the cats are like, oh, fine. And yeah, I'll talk to you now, because you're not sort of buzzing at me like a bloody electricity cable or something. And I find she's very useful in that. She tells them when their energy is flying and when they need to come down. And you can't miss it, because I mean, if the cat backs you and runs under a chair or something, it's sort of like, I think I'm doing it wrong.
Let's get down. Okay.
If I can't get on your table.
Yes, because I wouldn't let him on the table. It's gone now. Now he's answering the neighbourhood dogs. I think cats in particular are quite perceptive, aren't they? And they do pick up on all sorts of things that we can't generally see unless we're looking for them. Or energies of all sorts, aren't they? They are very perceptive.
Yeah. And I find it's really, like I said, I find it really helpful with the students that say, look, watch the cat. What's she doing? Right.
Yeah.
Now, take that in. What are you doing? And they sort of go, oh, right, yeah, I was getting in a state, or I was really worrying, or I was fizzling, or whatever, excited. And so, right, now you know what that feels like, because I can feel it, and I'm sure you could feel it, when your student's going off like a bloody Van de Graaff generator, you sort of think, whoa, I can't actually hack that. And they get to realise what they're doing. Oh, Eric.
What are you doing? Do you want that? Oh, he'd left his bone on the table. He couldn't reach it.
And you can't get the staff, you see. The bloody staff don't notice when you're shouting, when you need something.
Never work with animals and children.
Or preferably always work with them, because you will actually learn a terrific amount.
Yes.
I was watching a video or a Facebook Live thing from the Wolf and Dog Development Centre. That's Sean Ellis and Kim, who were the wolves that I went to see.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And this morning, and that I think they're doing one of their dog courses online, in which case I want to go. You don't need to have a dog to go. And because it's so, I mean, they're magic. They work magic, and they connect completely with their animals.
Yeah.
And they're showing you this, and I want to see how they do it, because we've had a chat about it, and I should absolutely love that. But it's so much about, like, you don't, what was it Kim was saying? You see these sort of really good, quiet dogs who are totally, they've had all the personality suppressed out of them. And there's nothing left in there. And they do precisely what you say to tell them.
Yeah.
All the time. And that she calls them robot dogs.
Yes. Yeah. I've seen them. Yes.
Yeah. And people come past and they think, oh, that dog's really well trained.
Yes.
I wish my dog was like that. And, you and I look at them, excuse me, I might have to get up because I think they'll come up then. Come and join in.
Perhaps they could just leave the cat and the dog on the screen and let them get on with it.
But she's saying, about the robot dogs, and that, no, what they teach is not that. Not how to suppress the dog, not how to train them with it's like mowing your lawn to within an inch of its life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's about connecting and finding out what the dog needs of you.
Yeah.
And because they don't call them packs either. They call them families.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so much nicer. And as she said, there's no hierarchy in the family, but everybody has their own job.
Yes.
And this one's sort of good at that, and this one's good at that. And they're equally important. There isn't a job that's better. You know, you can't be a king or a prime minister or a lowly court jester or shoveler of shit or something. There's none of that in the pack, in the family. That they've all got different jobs which they do well and enjoy doing. And she says you've got to find that with your dog.
I've not heard them called robot dogs before, but actually that makes I've seen them. I've known them. I've seen working dogs on the farm, and I mean that's what they do. They're working dogs. They're not family members. But if you have got a dog that lives in your house with you, yes, they have to be trained. You've got to be able to control them when they're out, and you know, you don't want them running off and annoying other people, that kind of thing, and it can be dangerous. But there still has to be, you've still got their character. I mean, Eric makes us laugh the whole time when he does funny things.
Yeah.
If I know what you mean, the dogs that are really, really trained don't have any personality left.
No, there's nothing there. I mean, we used to, I don't know, have I told you? I was brought up with Alsatians, German Shepherds. And because Dad always had them, and then I had one, and then I moved to London, so no dog.
No.
Not fair.
No.
And it work at day all day and all that sort of thing. So I've not had a dog since then. And now I would like to have another German Shepherd, but I can't, because I can't walk her or him. And also, I'm not quite sure what Kel would say. It'd be all right if I got her a small puppy about that size that she could say, I am the boss, you know this.
I think it'd be a revolution.
When we had them, it was the connection that they did, that they didn't frighten you and didn't go and frighten other people. I mean, my last dog, Woofer, he would, if I needed it.
Yeah.
After Bob and I, my first husband, you know, he had the dog and I had the copper kettle in the breakup. But we were still very, very good friends. And so he used to come up to London and see us, complete with Woofer. And we'd go out, and we might sort of go out to the pub and that sort of thing, and then come back, and the dog would be sitting there with his legs crossed saying, come on, you guys. And so we lived next to Clapham Common. And so I quite often sort of said, come on, I'll take you, and go for a walk at midnight on Clapham Common, which even with him, I think I'd be a bit jumpy about now. But
yes.
Then it wasn't fine to be a woman out on your own, but I never had any worries with him. And one time he was black, and it was a dark night. And this group of 3 or 4 teenagers came up, and they were starting to be nasty. And out of the blackness came these white fangs and this enormous growl. They were so fast, they'd have won the bloody Olympics. They really were. I let him chase them for about 50 yards. I said, oi, enough. And he came back to her. That did that. Yes, you would have done it too.
Yes, you're talking about a dog. She wanted some attention.
And so, but it was just the connection. I hadn't called him. He just knew.
He knew. Yeah.
And we were always completely connected. And he'd been a bit been a bit miserable when I first left home. But then, you know, he and Bob got it together, and then we all still saw each other, and it was all okay. But my dad's dogs and family dogs were like that. And they weren't forced to. It was just like, wait. And what, you want me? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll come back then. And I mean, with my Woofer, it was when I was at college, and then afterwards, I lived in Exmouth. And he used to come with me. He was never on a lead. And I go to the supermarket and say, wait for me.
Right.
And you just sit down.
Yeah.
By the door. And if somebody came up to me, they'd be a bit sort of, don't do it. And so, being large and black and wolfy looking, people generally took notice. And I come out and you come out, you're done now? Yeah, I'm done now. Come on, let's go. But it was all like connection.
Yeah.
And, you know, like it is for you. And that's why when an animal does what you want them to do is when they're connected to you.
Eric is actually my menopause dog.
Ah.
I never thought we would have a dog. I have had dogs before, and I grew up with dogs, but my husband doesn't really do dogs. Not his thing. So we've not had one. But I started to struggle really badly with the menopause, particularly my hormones, like horrendously bad. And at that point, Eric appeared, this puppy, 4-month-old puppy that needed a home, rescued from Poland, bald patches all over his fur, bit of a sorry state. And the opportunity arose that he needed a home. And my husband said, yeah, let's go and see him. We went to see him. And then 24 hours later, we were a dog owner. Yeah. But he said the reason for it was because he could see that it would give me a focus and that it would give me something to help me come out of the other side of the hormone problems with the menopause. And it has done. You know, he's 2.5 now, so it's really, really helped, particularly in the early stages where I was really struggling. I had to function each day because I had a new dog to look after, and consequently, he is my dog, follows me everywhere and sits outside the toilet and whines. But he has done exactly what Pete, my husband, hoped he would do, and he has helped me through it all, and he's been absolutely brilliant with it. He's a total git. But I think with the training side of it too, there are basics that you need to do when you've got a dog. You need to be able to control it if you're out anywhere. And you need it to do the basic functions for its own safety more than anything as well. But that takes time and effort. And I think there's quite a lot of people that don't actually want to put the time and effort into it as well. I was reading something yesterday. There's a huge increase on dogs that have been taken to the shelters because everybody went in lockdown, decided to buy a puppy. Oh, that's a good idea. And now, of course, they're all going back to work and all deciding that they don't want the dogs anymore.
And the kids are back at school and aren't interested anymore. Yeah. And nobody cares that this is a piece of life that, to me, is as important as your baby.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Eric
and
is...
You wouldn't throw your baby out just because lockdown was over.
No.
So
he thinks he's a human anyway, so...
Well, no, he's probably trying to get you up to being a dog. I mean, he's always trying to get me up to being a cat, and I'm a total failure at it so far. But it's, I mean, people talk about familiar spirits, but that's part of what it's about. You connect with another creature.
Yeah.
And something that doesn't even look like you. And for our ancestors, I don't think that was ever really a problem. But for modern people, it doesn't look like me. It can't do anything I can do.
Yeah.
It can probably do it better, actually, love, but don't worry about it. And it's so important. It's part of this connection. And, you know, you were looking after somebody else who was actually in a worse state than you were.
Oh, yes. In reality, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, for yours, it was sort of hormones, but he'd been bullied and neglected.
Oh, yeah, he's just
had to travel a dog traveling in a plane.
Yeah, I don't even want to begin to think about that. No.
And so you stop and this is something that I find I'm teaching with when we do familiar work, is you stop thinking about me and you start thinking, what do you need? Not that you neglect me, because neglecting me is just as bad. But you start thinking, what do you need? And can I help you? And what is it that you need? I might have to let her out again. She's probably bored and wants to go out. So excuse me a moment while I let the cat out. I know you can't get the staff, darling, can you?
Today's episode is all about the cat and the dog.
Would you like to go?
Although Eric's now laid right in the strip of sunshine with his nose pressed up against the glass window.
Right, you can go out.
The other side is actually open.
No, I don't have a cat flap in my internal doors. So I have
you to... You do bizarrely have a cat on your jumper today.
Of course.
See, it's all about cats and dogs today.
It's a very bizarre jumper. I didn't know it was going to be this bizarre when I got it, but actually I quite like it. It's sort of like ping. And well, it's a black cat, you see. And you know,
there's still a lot of problems, isn't there, with the general public being wary of black cats. I think I again read somewhere that black cats are more likely to end up in shelters than any other colour because people are wary of them. So they've got a bit of a myth, history, legends, whatever you want to call it.
They were I mean, as you said earlier, they're very sensitive and very knowing, and they have been familiars of wise people, and the wise people obviously were the last thing the church wanted to increase or include, because that was taking my authority away from the priest. So we demonize them as wolves are devils. Wolves are demonized. That's why they get killed so much, especially in America, which is a horrendously medieval Christian country. And no, they're evil creatures. Then there was the Victorian thing about good animals and bad animals, which was actually a little bit of Beatrice Potter stuff, which I like Beatrice Potter, but Mr. Fox was a baddie and Bunny Rabbit was a goodie.
It was very My husband used to hate reading those books to our children. He thought he hated them, and he used to change the words, and he would add things like elephants into the story as he read them.
I just got this picture of Peter Rabbit with a lettuce and an elephant.
They grew up with no idea about the actual real story, Beatrix Potter stories, because they always had elephants in them.
But cats have been demons. I mean, when we lived in Hereford, I lived literally 2 miles away from the local cats protection, and I used to help them there. And black cats would take 3 or 4 times as long to find a home.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? Just because of the colour of them.
And because of the stories you've been told.
Superstition, yeah.
And but I'm not superstitious. I'm not religious. So why don't you like black cats then? And black dogs have the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I guess they've got a bit of a legend surrounding
them. Well, loads of history. I mean, we've got a local black dog legend here,
right?
And which is all part of Wild Edric, but again, for our ancestors, they weren't evil. They were ferocious, possibly ferocious, but yeah, you see, you need a dog flap.
He'd probably fit through a cat flap, actually.
He would actually, yeah. But they get a bad press.
Yeah.
And the bad press continues because an awful lot of people who, I get it every year with my students, they've read other books on witchcraft, say, overall thing. And oh, ravens are possibly evil birds because they eat the dead. Well, what are you going to do? Bury the bodies? They're battle birds because they eat the dead. They're part of nature's cleanup squad. Get a grip.
Yeah, everything's got its place, hasn't it? It's all got its position within the ecosystem.
And so they're still believing shit that's been put around for 1,000, maybe 1,500 years that has absolutely nothing to do with what we actually do. And so you sort of putting that down.
Certain animals have that. Certain animals we all seem to be frightened of too, like spiders. I know lots and lots of people that are frightened of spiders. I must admit, they don't really worry me. I understand how they're all, symbolic of the web of weird and all of that stuff. I don't really want one landing on my head, but
well, if one does, I'll probably jump, but then I will sort of try and find a mirror and say, where the hell are you? Don't get lost in my hair because I shall push you. If I lived in Australia, I think I'd be worried.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think in England, we're not going to die from a spider bite generally, are we? So, yeah. But I don't think there are generally, that seems to be that one of the animals that people are universally frightened of.
And yet, Spider Woman, for instance, in the Americas, and often in many places, spider is the sun.
Right.
The sunlight. The sun who spreads his web or her web, especially in countries where the sun is generally thought of as female.
Yeah.
And we've just got this because I think it's just because we're so disconnected and we believe human stories.
Yeah.
I had a thing with a student fairly early on, and she'd met a banshee.
Right.
And it's Bian-shi.
Yes.
Is the word. Do you know what it means?
It looks like bean-she, doesn't it?
Bean-sid, yeah. But do you know what it means?
Do you know, I don't. I'm not really au fait with the fairy world.
Fairy woman. Wise woman. Fairy woman. But the story goes that one of the best known stories is that she sits on your roof when somebody in the house is about to die and screams.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Well, she may if she wants to. I have actually met banshees up in Scotland, and it was amazing. And they're very powerful. And you definitely sort of, mind your P's and Q's there. But they weren't aggressive. They were definitely wanting humans, that's just Fiona and me, to mind our P's and Q's because they were fed up with the bloody idiot humans who put out silly stories on them and knock their forest down or knock their waterfall down or something like that. But my student was thinking this was she was very new. She was thinking this was an evil spirit because that's what she'd read in witchcraft books and things. And she's not. A banshee is not. And they're all talking. They've grown through that now. It was fine. But one of the other students was saying, because actually she ended up that the banshee gave her treasure. And so, we had to sort of say, right, you better go back and sort out what this treasure is all about. Because it was sort of symbolic treasure, like gold ingots and things like that. And one of the other students said, well, it was really good. It went away when you did so-and-so. So I sort of came in, excuse me, banshees are she.
Yeah.
And it's that again. If it's not a human, it's an it. And
it's with the fairy world, with anything, fairy world deity, it's about respect, isn't it? Yeah. You've got to, they're all relationships, aren't they? We need to build relationships with any of these. So you have to mind your manners because that's only polite, but it is about respect as well.
if you start off calling, I mean, you go around to your friend's house and she's just had a new baby, and so say, oh, it's quite a nice little thing, isn't it? I probably would, mind you, because I don't like babies, but that apart, I mean, you wouldn't do it.
No.
So why do you do it for something else that isn't? Do you speak French?
Enough to order a meal,
right,
and buy things in shops. Actually, conversational French, not so much.
Not unless you were there for a week or so, right?
Yeah, no, lack of practice. Lack of practice.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? I've got the same problem. But in French, there is no it gender.
No, that's true, isn't it? They're all
Everything has a gender. Everything has a gender, and my dad was a real francophile. He lived there for years and years, and so I used to be able to speak French quite well because it was part of the baby language that I grew up with, which is the best way, of course. And then he didn't do it grammatically. We just learned like I learned to talk English, kind of.
Yes, but yeah, I think that's the best way, isn't it? If you've got Duolingo. Oh, it's
Duolingo parents, yeah.
And you're brought up speaking them, but it's much easier to do it that way.
When I went to, I mean, we didn't learn French at junior school, and I went to senior school, and we started to learn French properly, kind of thing. And I was sort of a bit ahead in a way in the talking, but not in the grammar and all the rest of it any more than I was, because we're learning English grammar as well at the same time. And I was fascinated when I realized that there was no it.
Do you know, I've never thought about it. I learned French at school. I've been to France lots of times, spoken French to people in shops, some of my books have been translated into French. But I've never thought about that. But everything does, doesn't it? Even all the objects are masculine or feminine, aren't they?
Well, it's la table, the table, the female, or le soleil, the sun, male. And I was absolutely totally fascinated with that. And
never thought about it.
Unfortunately, I could come home and talk to Dad because he was all into this stuff as well. I said, hey, that's really good. They know. Why don't we know? And then we sort of get into Anglo-Saxons and all this kind of thing. He was very good like that. He could actually sort of do it with a 13-year-old and get it together,
Oh, my dad was fascinated with Anglo. He was fascinated with, or still is, with our roots, with where we came from. So, in fact, I borrowed a ton of books from him recently to go through all of our, ancient British goddesses and Celts and Anglo-Saxons and all sorts. Yeah, he was because he used to take us to all the sites as well. We go picnics to places.
That's right. Yeah, we did. Yeah. And I mean, that's such a great way of learning about it too, and being involved. And I think more kids are getting that kind of stuff now that, say, used to be 10 years ago. But if you're going to, it's like having a dog as well. You've got to be able to put in the time if you're going to have kids.
Yeah.
You can't just dump them in front of the TV or hand them their Xbox or something like that.
The electronic babysitter, we used to call it.
Exactly. And you will have a sort of robot child if you do that.
I suppose different. My children, well, my son's 16 next month. My daughter's 21 in February. So perhaps a different generation again, but I used to take them to the library every week. They both loved reading. My son loves the Xbox and the computer, and he plugs himself in quite regularly. But he does one of his favorite games. It's a brilliant game. It won't let me play it. He says I'll be embarrassing, but it's actually about civilizations, and you start off as you could be Attila the Hun or somebody like that. But you actually build your own kingdom, and it takes you through all the generations, Vikings, Anglo-Saxons, but it's actually historically correct as well.
That's
He's
excellent.
learned huge amounts about it. I mean, he loves reading about history anyway, but he's learned huge amounts of history from this game because it's been designed as such that it is historically correct. You know, he has to he's got armies and he has to, you know, wipe people out and things like that, but it's all historically correct.
I think learning anything like that through a game or through a story is the way you remember it, whereas the sort of horrible rote learning that some teachers used to try and force down my throat just does not. You know, there's another similar game which I keep thinking I might actually get. It's on how planet Earth was built herself, and it's build your own planet.
Excellent.
And it can go wrong when you go wrong.
Yes.
And
I think we've done that anyway.
You know, you're sort of about 2/3 through this, and you suddenly realise that there aren't any trees left. And I keep thinking I might get that, except the fact I'll probably never do any other work.
That's the problem. Get sucked into it.
But again, it's correct as far as we know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, your son might be. You might know it, you might enjoy it.
Yeah, evolution. He had an evolution
one. Yeah,
well.
that's it. Yeah.
Which was brilliant. Yeah. Started out as an ape, and the whole, you know, coming up through the evolution of man kind of thing. Yeah,
have you seen that meme that's going around Facebook? And it's got the, you know, the line from little monkey to human. And about 3 down the line, the guy is sort of turning away saying, "Come on, guys, we're going the wrong way." Wrong turn there, guys. I thought that was absolutely gorgeous. But no, the one I'm thinking of starts from dust clouds.
Right.
And, you know, how they pull together, the gravitational pull together, the spin and the electromagnetic fields and all this kind of stuff. And then how you go, you know, from single cell right up through, and how you don't get the one without the other kind of thing. And I thought it was fascinating. I sort of watched 2 or 3 bits of it on YouTube and then restrained myself and dragged myself away.
Something like that you would get sucked in, wouldn't you? And everything else would all be thrown by the wayside. Writing, housework, cooking, eating.
No, I mean, housework I don't do. Because I think I said, didn't I? I've got an arrangement with a student.
You have a lady what does?
Well, I do for her because she wanted to come as a student, but her one of her pay jobs is she's a cleaner, and she's absolutely brilliant. I could never clean like she does. And so I swap teaching, and she gives back cleaning. And we're great friends anyway, so that's really sort of neat.
System. Brilliant.
But it certainly does kind of help, especially when you can do it like that.
Yes.
You know, and you really build a relationship with somebody. It's all about building relationships. So, yeah.
I think teaching history to children is important. I didn't like history at school. I thought it was really boring. But that was perhaps because of the subjects or the areas we were taught. And I've noticed when my daughter did history at school, my son's doing history at school, it's modern history, which is important, definitely, but it is modern history and politics. It is Nazis and that kind of area. But I think there's so much more they could do with it. And actually, where my son's been looking at A-levels now for applying to college and then university, even A-level history is modern history and politics. You have to go, although you can actually do an ancient history A-level, which is the Roman. Yes, I know. And
no, not the Romans. No. Let's do proper ancient history.
Yeah, no. It's Romans and Greeks, but you need that to then go on to university. Once you get to university, you can do the proper stuff. But it is interesting that, yes, the standard history A-level is modern history, but even they call it ancient history A-level, only goes back to the Romans. You have to wait to get to university to do the older stuff.
We're still totally sort of buggered with this idea that, we couldn't even write before the Romans came. And the Romans were the beginning of civilization. Yeah, they were the beginning of the end. Right. Okay, we've got that. I mean, it would be now if somebody was offering, and I don't see. I mean, actually, when I was at junior school, we actually did ancient history, and the schoolmaster there who was running it, and there were 3 classes. There was sort of the infants, and then there was the next up, and then there was the top class in which you were for probably about 2 years. He took us back, and so did the previous class. Well, they did actually. All 3 of them did, even with the infant kids. They take you back into the Stone Age,
right,
and into what I now know is the Mesolithic, the Middle Stone Age, and the Paleolithic age.
Right.
And you learn about. I mean, I first remember seeing the pictures of the Lascaux caves in junior school.
Right.
And this is what our ancestors did. And we weren't told that. I don't know what the hell happened in that place, but we weren't told that they were primitive in the sense of uneducated. And later on, because I did get a bit of this from my history mistress, we had to do battles and dates in those days, and everything started at 1066.
Yeah.
Which was totally boring. But in between time, when she got a moment off the syllabus, before you actually got to needing to prep for your A-levels, we used to do ancient stuff as well. And always then, these paintings weren't primitive. And I remember at the secondary school, it was when Barbara Hepworth was going, and the other bloke whose name I cannot remember, very sort of strange modernistic sculptures. And she would bring pictures of that in and then put them beside cave art.
Right.
And so we were getting this sort of like, ooh. And she'd do the same with, particularly because she liked Cretan drawings.
Right.
And so look at this, and Egyptian drawings. No, this isn't primitive. This is a way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
And she worked with our art mistress on that too, because our art mistress was very good. And so I did get this. I must have just landed on my feet. Get this sort of like, no, look at these things. They're really actually quite complex.
Yeah.
And in junior school, I mean, we made birch bark paper.
That's fantastic.
And we made like acorn ink and things,
right.
And mushroom ink, and wove baskets and learnt to make fire and things like that, like kids do in bush school now.
Right, yeah.
But this was sort of like, we always do this thing on.
That means the doorbell rang.
Right. On having O-level or is it an A-level in natural history? Did you get that bit? They're thinking of having an A-level in natural history.
Right, yes, they do this GCSEs they do at school now, which was their O-levels.
Yeah.
And then you go on to college to do A-levels.
Yeah. I think they might be doing a GCSE even in natural history. And I was sort of thinking, this is all the stuff I did at junior school.
Yeah. but they don't tend to, as far as I know, they don't cover it. I've not noticed either of my children do that kind of cover that kind of area at school.
But
my son loves the whole, ancient civilization and evolution of man, but all of that he's learned from reading books himself and watching YouTube videos and documentaries and things himself, because he was fascinated by it and took himself off to learn about it. They didn't do it in school.
And they should be, because I mean, I understand why they do modern history and politics, is so they can get votes.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you know how it's done. This is what we need of you. You behave like this. This is fine. Which of course wasn't very much worried about when I was at school. But we need actually to know all this ancient stuff and to know how actually incredibly connected and intelligently connected our ancestors were. Because we're not going to get out of this mess unless we learn that.
No. But even from the point of view, they don't call it religious education anymore, but you are allowed, when you get to a certain age, to choose your subjects like we did.
Yeah.
But you've still got to do religious education, although they call it philosophy these days.
I didn't have to. I could give it up.
Oh no, I had to do religious. Yes, we had to do RE. We had to do that as one of their exams, and they still do, but it's called philosophy. But even that, they study Christianity and they study Muslim religion, and that's pretty much it.
What? No Judaism?
That's it.
No Judaism?
That's it. That's nothing. No other religion at all.
These are the only politics that we have any problems with anymore. So this is what you're going to learn.
Yeah, right. Pretty much.
And what we know and what we do is, that's stupid superstition.
There are one or two enlightened teachers. I do know a very lovely lady that teaches philosophy, who actually is a pagan herself, so she's broadened it. She actually called me in one day, and we took the kids all up to the local forest, and we did a ritual with them in the ritual with the children in the forest. That sounds a little bit suspect. I suppose
it does nowadays, but no, again, we used to do that, and it wasn't
anything like that. But I showed them all the basics of a ritual, and we went through the idea of paganism and got them all involved with stuff. And we spent the day up in the forest teaching them about paganism. But she was one of the very few and far between. But the actual curriculum only requires them to cover, as far as I'm aware, Christianity and Islam.
At which point I should be asleep for the whole of that lesson.
Yeah.
It's utterly boring.
Yeah.
At least for me, they're utterly boring.
Yeah. But you think of all the other religions there are in the world.
What about all the Indian religions?
Well, yes, that's it too, isn't it? And I mean, where I live, we have a fantastically huge, diverse culture of people, including Hindu and all sorts. We have a real mixed bag where I am, and it's fantastic. I mean, we've got supermarkets from every different culture. It's amazing.
That's really, really ace, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what about Japanese Shinto?
This is it. That's it.
And what about the whole of all of the variations on Buddhism?
I know. You think all of the fascinating stuff they could teach. I mean, I'm assuming it's not the actual teacher's faults. Obviously, they get
no. They get bullied into this is what you'll do if you want a job. Yeah,
hats off to teachers. I wouldn't want to do it. And my daughter is a teaching assistant for the little ones, and I wouldn't have the patience to last 5 minutes. So.
No.
But you would think of all the stuff they could teach. Why just narrow down to those tiny little...
Well, why just narrow down to them? Because then we get a population we can control.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's it.
With history as well. Why? It seems to be the same things. Nazis and Tudors. I'm pretty sure I saw the same thing on my daughter's curriculum when she was doing history. Why those two things? It's quite, I don't know.
It's because you get the people you can education is not about education anymore. It's about getting people to conform so that you can control them.
It didn't work.
You get a Boris.
It really didn't work with my kids. Neither of them conform.
No, I think it doesn't with quite a lot of people, but not enough, unfortunately.
No, but I must admit, my daughter, she did like school. I liked school. And my son does it because he has to go, but he does actually enjoy most of the lessons.
I understand his feelings. I enjoyed little bits of it, but most of it was
boring.
I don't want to be doing this. I want to be sort of learning about the Stone Age or something.
Yes. You know. Yeah, he's actually excited. We were talking about college yesterday and choosing the subjects. He's actually really excited because he said, I will be learning the subjects that I want to learn.
Yes, but he'll be learning them in the way that the professors at whatever college he's at wish to teach him.
We haven't crossed that bit yet.
It's worth
the subjects I was quite pleased with.
I'm very pleased with that too. I think that's great, but I think it's important that he does learn that every professor, every single one, will have their own axe to grind.
Oh yes, yeah.
And they will have their way and their belief of how this is, just as you do with the television presenters. And I can't remember which one it is, but one of the history guys, he's really into the divine right of kings. And so everything you get from, you know, a castle to a castle latrine comes over with this slant.
Right.
And that's okay if your son feels he can actually go through, you know, and he can actually sort of go, I see, we're on our hobby horse again, are we?
Oh yeah, no, he will. He's quite. he won't let them get away with that.
That's fantastic. Then that's absolutely perfect. But I mean, I've seen, you know, teenagers and people just starting at university, and especially if you've got a charismatic professor, you believe what they say because, you know, whatever reason he's fantastic or she's fantastic. And actually, they may be quite off beam. So, but anyway, he's going to have fun.
Yes,
he's a bright lad because he's taken himself off for teaching what he wants to know.
Yes, he's heading for archaeology and ancient history at university. So yeah, college choices: geology, ancient history, and ancient civilizations. So. I'm actually going to tag team. I'm going to go to college with him because it all sounds fascinating.
I know. I mean, that sounds amazing. Yeah.
I'll do it this time.
Actually, if he's thinking about college, one university to think about for all of that is Manchester.
Oh, okay.
I know this because I know quite a few archaeologists at Manchester University because they used to come down and dig the very famous site that I was about 10 miles away from. And they are buried together and there's people there. I mean, one of them that I know very well, he's done papers on how the Mesolithic people, because that's his special, how the Mesolithic people worked with and connected consciously with animals.
Oh, right.
And he's written 3 papers on it.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. He'll be totally embarrassed, but his mum will be following him to university because it's all fascinating.
There's nothing to do with me. She's not mine. I don't know her.
It's my job to be embarrassing.
You better use a witch name or something so he doesn't have to be related to you.
Yeah, no.
But no, seriously, they are a good lot there.
We will have
and it's worth like looking up things. I know quite a few archaeologists, so if he chooses, you know, thinks of what so like, I may know them.
Cool. Excellent.
I've had real, like relations on a dig with them.
Yeah.
And
he's got to get his GCSEs first and get to college, but
absolutely. But also, and it does work. If he wants to spend 2 or 3 weeks on a dig, sign on.
Yes.
It'll be in the summer holidays.
Yeah.
And that will get him closer to a place.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I say, we've seen him on such and such a dig. He was okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I have said that to him. He needs to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's well worth it. And it's great fun. I mean, you're all camping and completely nuts, and the professors are completely off. I mean, they're not in class; they're having fun.
Yeah.
So it'd be great. No, I'm glad of that. That's good.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah. And on that note, we have gone over an hour as usual.
We have, and we made it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. They're not cutting me off suddenly.
Cats and dogs notwithstanding.
Well,
it's
part of the fun. It's how it is. Okay. Well, look, I'll see you in. No, hang on.
Yeah, we've got stuff coming up, haven't we? So,
we need to fix it because we need to fix when we're actually going to do it, because I'm going to be away on the Stone Age.
Yeah, and I'm going to Bath. So we're off on jollies. So
we are absolutely, and so but we will fix it so that it turns up on the right day anyway.
We'll catch you next time.
next
we time.
We will. Possibly with cats and dogs.
Yes.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Bye, Rachel. See you soon.